Day and night and day, the living creatures give their praise. To him who lives eternally, they never cease from saying, Holy, holy is Yahweh Almighty, worthy, worthy to receive all glory.
Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, and we've got a portion to read out of the Torah for you today, week 9, Vayeshev, and it's going to be covering Genesis 37:1 through 40:23. I am James.
And I'm Leigh.
And we are Between the River and the Ravens. So thankful that you are listening, tuning in, wherever you may be from. We do hope that this portion is a blessing for you and that you can glean something for this particular week in your life. So we do hope you join us later this week on Friday for our fellowship, where we will be breaking down and discussing in further depth this portion. So looking forward to that as well. Let's get it pulled up and you can read along with us. Genesis 37. And Yaakov dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Yaakov. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's women. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Yasharel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dream, and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to you, to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Yasharel said unto Elioseph, Do not your brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send you unto them. And he said to him, Here I am. And he said to him, Go, I pray you, see whether it be well with your brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the valley of Chevron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What do you seek? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray you, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer comes. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, And I will say, some evil beast has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. And Reuven heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuven said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into the pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelim came from Gilad, and their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Mitzrayim. And Yehudah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelim, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midian merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelim for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Mitzrayim. And Reuven returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren, and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be your son's coat or no. And he knew it, and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Yaakov rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into Sheol unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midian sold him into Mitzrayim unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's, and captain of the guard.
Chapter 38. And it came to pass at that time that Yehudah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamim, whose name was Hira. And Yehudah saw there was a daughter of certain Kenaini, whose name was Shuach. And he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Shalach. And he was at Kaziv when she bore him. And Yehudah took a woman for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Yehudah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh slew him. And Yehudah said unto Onan, Go in unto your brother's woman, and marry her, and raise up seed to your brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's woman, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased Yahweh, wherefore he slew him also. Then said Yehudah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at your father's house till Shalach my son be grown. For he said, Lest perchance he dies also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in the process of time, the daughter of Shuach, Yehudah's woman, died. And Yehudah was comforted, and went up into his sheep shearers to Timnathah. he and his friends, Hira the Adulami. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, your father-in-law goes up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shalach was grown, and she was not given unto him to be his woman. When Yehudah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go, I pray you, let me come in unto you. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What will you give me that you may come in unto me? And he said, I will send you a kid from the flock. And she said, Will you give me a pledge till you send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give you? And she said, Your signet and your bracelets and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave it to her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Yehudah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adulami, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he found her not. Then when he asked the men of the place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place. He then returned to Yehudah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Yehudah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and you have not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Yehudah, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with a child by whoredom. And Yehudah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray you, whose are these, the signet, then bracelets and staff? And Yehudah acknowledged them and said, She has been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shalach my son. And he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound up his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out. And she said, How have you broken forth? This breach be upon you. Therefore his name was called Peretz. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerach.
Chapter 39. And Yosef was brought down to Mitzrayim, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, a Mitzri, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelim, which had brought him down thither. And yahuah was with Yosef, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his Adonai, the Mitzri. And his Adonai saw that yahuah was with him, and that yahuah made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Yosef found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that yahuah blessed the Mitzri's house for Yosef's sake. And the blessing of yahuah was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Yosef's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Yosef was a goodly person, and well favored. And it came to pass after these things, that his Adonai's woman cast her eyes upon Yosef, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused, and said unto the woman of his Adonai, Behold, my Adonai knows not what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his woman. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Elohim? And it came to pass, as she spoke to Elioseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got him out. And it came to pass that when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house, and spoke unto them, saying, See, he has brought in an yhvh unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled, and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her, until his Adonai came home. And she spoke unto him according to these words, saying, The yhvh servant which you have brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled out. And it came to pass, when his Adonai heard the words of his woman, which she spoke unto him, saying, After this manner did your servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's Adonai took him, and put him into prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But yahuah was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because yahuah was with him, and that which he did, yahuah made it to prosper.
Chapter 40. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Mitzrayim and his baker had offended their Adonai, the king of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers. And he had put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captains of the guard chained Joseph with them, and he served them, and they continued a season in ward. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Mitzrayim, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officer that were with him in the ward of his Adonai's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not interpretations belong to Elohim? Tell me them, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, as it was as though it budded. And her blossom shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto thee, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up your head and restore you unto your place. And you shall deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand. after the former manner when you were his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with you, and show kindness, I pray you, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the yhvh, and here also have I done nothing, that they should put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream. And behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up your head from off you, and shall hang you on a tree, and the birds shall eat your flesh from off you. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. He lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. He restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him.
All right, that does it for our week 9 reading. So thankful that you joined us, and we hope this message is a blessing for you, that Yah shines his face upon you this week.
Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Day and night and day, the living creatures give their praise to him who lives eternally. They never cease from saying, Holy, holy is Yahweh.